Because if you think about it, I mean, a lot of these minor league players are there for a reason. They're all good.
They're all good.
So why?
They all have the basics.
They all have the basics, and some are maybe more skilled than others, but why is one that's less skilled in the major leagues and others aren't? There's a reason.
There's guys that can throw 100 and still can't make it. Yeah, I think the mental side is, it's hard for me to say that it's the new frontier after I've been doing this a half a century. I see more people getting into the mental side of the game than ever before.
Well, and I think you almost have to just do you, because yeah, there are guys that, speaking of pitchers, that can throw 100, and there's guys just they can't. They just don't. So you don't have to be that person.
Welcome to the Living in the Zone podcast. I'm your host, ZoneCoach Jim Fannin. I've coached champions in life, business, and sports for 50 years with a proprietary thought management system that I discovered called S.C.O.R.E. Every guest on this show has been in what we call a zone state, a purposeful, calm feeling where nothing can go wrong, and you're performing at your highest level. Our guest today is Amanda Eder. Now, this is a woman and a mom whose unwavering dedication and support have been instrumental in the success of her son, Jake Eder, a top pitching prospect for the Chicago White Sox, and now a member of the Chicago White Sox. Amanda's journey as a mom and her commitment to helping Jake develop not only as an athlete, but as a person is both inspiring and insightful. It's all right here on Living in the Zone. Amanda Eder, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. I don't always get the mom of a prospective superstar because I want to talk about Jake Eder. I want to talk about Luke Eder, both your kids, and we've known each other for a few years now. Take me all the way back to Jake. Jake's a top prospect for the Chicago White Sox, lefty pitcher. Has had success in the minors, made the all-star team. But you go way back before then. When was the first time you realized, my son's a pretty good athlete? He's got a propensity and a gift.
I mean, when he was 5 or 6, he tried all kinds of different sports. He played flag football, he did ice hockey, nothing very competitive, but just tried a bunch of stuff. Then we did, he did taekwondo for many years and was very good. So
how far did he go in taekwondo?
So the guy we had, it was harder to get the belt. So as you see, a lot of kids will have black belts, but he was very tough on him, and he really wanted to train him to go further and further, but Jake kind of got more into baseball. So he started 5 or 6. We'd go to tournaments, and I think he became a red belt or just a couple notches down from a black belt. But it wasn't one of those you get a black belt.
He was also got into modeling.
He did. That was me.
That was mom.
That was fun for me, actually.
So how did that go? How did that start out?
I had a friend of mine doing it, so I'm like, let me just take him down. He was a cute little kid, blonde hair, blue eyes.
How old was he?
5. 4. 4? Yeah, 4.
Mom schlepping him around
I got old after a while. Once he started getting into middle school and high school, forget it. And he didn't want to do it anymore, so we just kind of quit or stopped doing it. Because Miami is a big market for that. You get all kinds of European clients coming in. You used to be Toys R Us, He
had a few good gigs, too.
Yeah, he was on a couple of magazines when he was a little kid. He was a cute kid. So it was an interesting market because they loved, like, you had your blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, you had your dark-haired kid, you had your Hispanic, your African-American. So it was like a eclectic or, mix of kids.
Were you protective?
Of him?
Yeah.
I mean, probably, yeah.
That's a crazy business.
It is, because you'd be amazed that parents are the things they would say about young kids, I'm like, they're 5. I'm like, it's like, what do you care about? They weren't nice, because everybody was very competitive for their own kid. I'm like, they're just kids doing these little jobs. It's not that big a deal.
So then here comes Luke.
So with Luke, I started doing it with him because we were just already doing it, and he was, I think he was 6 weeks old, 8 weeks old, very little. So,
he's doing modeling at 6 weeks old. Oh, my gosh.
They called me for a Pampers Pampers print ad. So I'm like, I'll just go down with them. So we get down there early in the morning. He's one of the first babies they photographed, and he stayed awake for hours. So they got a lot of photographs of him. He ended up being the one on the cover.
Oh, my goodness. I did not know that. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have to find a picture. I'll send it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they used it for years. They used it in Europe. They use it here.
So Luke right now is in college.
He's in college at Florida State.
How quick did that go by?
Very fast. Oh, my gosh.
Did you wake up and go, what happened? Wow.
Because you spend I shouldn't say all your life, but you spend a ton of your time doing for them, and that becomes, I guess, kind of your identity in addition to what you already do.
So simultaneously, and I think a lot of parents have this, you've got one kid that's locked into baseball. I mean, really locked in, going to games and everything. Another kid, he was in ice hockey.
He was in ice hockey later, so I tried to get him into baseball. He just, at one point, he told me he was doing it for me. I'm like, well, don't do that. Do what you want. So he played ice hockey when he was younger, and then he quit, and then he decided he'd go back. I said, go back if you want.
If you could do it all over again, raise your kids all over again, well, would you have done anything different?
I don't think so. I think the sports were good for kids. It keeps them out of trouble, keeps them busy. We had some challenges, but that's teenage kids. And
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Yeah, so.
And then Jake goes to Vanderbilt.
He went to Vanderbilt. So interesting for him. We had this coach when he was very young, and he made it really fun. So he's like, don't spend a lot of time traveling around too much when they're young. They get burned out. So we took his advice. So Jake, basically, even when he was little, he got to catch. He loved it. A little left-handed catching mitt. He'd let him play all over the place, sometimes shortstop. I mean, would never be his natural position, but outfield, first base, just he didn't care. He said it's not about winning, it's about learning, and let's develop you, because nobody cares if you win tournaments at 13. Nobody asks you, and nobody cares. They don't ask what teams you play. They just don't care. So he said don't have him pitch a lot when he's younger. So I was like, okay. So he never really pitched when he was young.
Doesn't have a lot of mileage on his left arm.
And I'm not so sure that's, makes a difference whether you get injured or not. But anyway, that was the rationale.
There's a lot of
behind
controversy because there's so much injury
he's
today.
already had Tommy John, and he didn't start pitching until he was like 15 or 16 competitively.
So your husband's an orthodontist, is that correct?
He is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And weren't you in orthodontic school? Dental school.
I was a general dentistry.
So you are a dentist?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 2 dentists in the same family, yet...
They're not remotely interested in that.
Yeah.
Because my husband was hoping that one of them would want to take it over, but neither one are interested.
Neither one are interested in that?
No.
But again, going back, could you have done anything different? Made a better decision? Have you ever second-guessed yourself? I'm a parent, so I've thought back, how could I have done that different? What?
The only thing I would say, and I did it different with Luke, was, you talk about the helicopter parenting, and I'll be honest, I did. You always want them to be safe and try and make sure everything's there so the right way. So I did. I'll be honest with you. I did do that. I did too much for him. And then when Luke came along, I'm like, wow, that wasn't a smart thing to do. So
you changed.
So I made him do, his own stuff. I mean, when he was in high school, he was making his own doctor's appointments, and I'm not.
What?
Yeah. He's like, I need to go to the dermatologist. I said, okay. And so he's like, I have an appointment. I'm like,
Jake would never go.
I'm not sure. I think he would make his appointments if it was something he really wanted.
Right.
But if it was something I felt he needed to do, he wouldn't be interested in it. So,
And then here we are. How did I get involved with Jake Eder? How did that go about?
That was honestly all him. I had nothing to do with that.
Do you remember the involvement?
He didn't tell me anything about it until I he had you on the phone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I knew nothing.
Wow,
about
so
it,
he
which
did.
Is fine.
So he did take charge.
Yeah, he actually did. I watched one of your podcasts that you had Jake on, and he was going back to something his Vanderbilt pitching coach said to him that I forget what it was that he said, you're lacking in the mental game, some things to that effect. And he said at the time, he was like, no, I didn't believe that. But then he realized, yeah, he was right. So too bad you didn't listen like you did 2 years ago.
he did have a stellar career. I mean, he was on the mound when Vanderbilt won the national championship.
He had his challenges there, too.
And you were in the audience when he won that national title?
That was cool. There was
How fun was that? Were you nuts?
That was awesome.
What's it like watching your kid in a moment of truth? Which you are on the mound.
I was nervous. All the pitchers' moms were nervous. You'd see one of the other kid that started the game. I think it was Mason. I saw her. She was like gritting her teeth every time he'd get up, and she'd be like that the whole time. And then when he'd be done with the inning, she'd relax. Then she'd grit again. So you're just nervous because you want them to do well.
You do.
So it was Mason and then Jake in that last game against Michigan State. I remember.
So when Jake got to the pros, got drafted. 2020?
2020. That was an interesting year, too. Oh, my goodness.
Tell me about that year.
Well, Vanderbilt was starting their season, and then all of a sudden it was like, we may not have a season.
Right.
Everybody went home, and I know Brownie, that was his pitching coach, was like, well, be ready because we might be back in a couple weeks. And then everything just kind of fell apart. They didn't go back, so everything was online.
Where were you when the draft came out?
Home. Yeah, so everybody went home. So there was talk about not even having a draft, and then they said,
"How'd you feel when he got drafted? Too high, too low? Did you get into all that?"
Yeah, I sat back because he started out. So he had gone to after the World Series. He went to the Cape and did pretty well, and had a really good fall. So there was talk about him maybe going in the first round. So then he gets to the first 4 games, and the first game in Arizona was like, okay, that didn't work out too well. So then he started.
What round did he get drafted?
4th.
4th round?
Mm-hmm.
Were you disappointed?
I think he was happy he got drafted. He was concerned.
Yeah.
Because it was only 160, 13% of the kids. Everybody else didn't get drafted, so everybody else had to go back to school.
So you got a little bit of money, not a lot, not first round money.
Right.
Which is totally a game changer.
And I think if the season hadn't have, because he had that wetter outing in Arizona, and then his outing started to get better and better. And then it just kind of, the last game was at USC in California, and then he did pretty well, and then that was done.
So
done.
How well do you know baseball? Pretty well? You've seen a lot of baseball. You've seen a lot of hockey.
I don't know hockey. I don't know the rules of hockey very well. Not that well, because Luke kind of just stopped doing it. As far as what the players know, less, obviously, but I guess enough.
You still get nervous watching a game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we ever going to get rid of?
I don't know. I think it's my friends who have sons that are pitchers. Like my one friend said, she's in high school. She's like, I couldn't watch it. She's like, I had to go out in the parking lot. I'm like, are you serious?
Well, I had a highly ranked daughter in tennis, mm-hmm. and I thought, I've been to Wimbledon. I've been to the French Open. I've won on the big stage with my clients. I was never nervous. Then when I had my own kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm biting my nails. Where's the bar? I need a drink. And I remember one day when I went, what am I doing? This is her. This ain't me.
Right, exactly.
And I finally relaxed and just let it go. Have you had a moment like that yet?
I'm not as nervous when I go there because I can see what's going. I feel like I'm there and I can see what's going on, and you feel the vibe of everything. But on TV, I'm like, I just can't watch it on TV. On those little apps, you don't really know what's going on 100%. I guess you watch it on TV, though. So, I'm not sure why. It's not very rational, actually.
So 2 kids, adults.
Yeah.
Second one's and Luke graduated. Jake graduated from Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
I was part of it. That was a challenge.
That was like pulling teeth.
That was speaking of your husband. That was pulling teeth, definitely.
Because I said, okay, Vanderbilt never has online classes. I said, you're never going to have an opportunity like this.
You and I we did a double team on.
He wasn't going to do it.
He wasn't going to do it.
Mike, are you kidding me? I said, you can take online classes and get a Vanderbilt degree. Let's do it. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go back there and live there for a whole semester.
I don't need a degree. I'm a pro baseball player.
So then the last class, he had 1 class left. He's like, I'll do it later. I said, oh, no. You'll do it now because those are going to go away. Those online classes.
Yeah.
And you made
part of the scholarship, right? Or
MLB gives you don't get when you're out, you don't get the Vanderbilt scholarship, but MLB has they gave him, I think,
finish school money.
Yeah, I think it was like $75,000, which is a lot because it's whatever the equivalent of you went to Vanderbilt, so you get the equivalent of a year there versus if you went to a community college, you'd only get $10,000 or whatever. So he still has money left.
Yeah, I remember.
That he can use.
I remember late night talking to Jake about his homework.
I'm like, just get it done, for God's
Get it
sakes.
done.
I feel like it's not that big a deal.
And then he finally got it done. I was so excited to see the diploma. That was great.
And that's maybe why with him I felt like I'm like, just come on, just do it, just do it.
Well, the one thing I've always said to Jake, and I've said that to every athlete, you're more than a baseball player. You're a son, you're a brother. You got your own money. Hopefully you'll have more of your own money, but you're so much more than just a baseball player or an athlete. And I think too many parents have allowed their kid to put all their happy eggs in one basket. And then if that basket doesn't go right, the whole life is changed in a negative way.
And I think that, at least being a student, well, I'm only going to talk about baseball, being a baseball player at Vanderbilt, so it's a harder school. You really don't have much time to study. I mean, I remember going to his room and going, it doesn't look like he even opened these books, ever. So I don't think they had a lot of time to study because they had them there, at least when he was a freshman, they'd be there at 5 a.m. and then you'd have to go to class and you had to be done by 1.
Then they'd go on the road in the spring, and good luck on that.
So you really couldn't do careers there was only one kid, I think, that did it, and he was just uber smart that he just could get things
made
without
good
studying.
grades in the fall, the winter, and the spring. Forget about it. I don't remember even going to class.
No. So I mean, I guess it was a good experience for them, but you wonder how much they actually did because they got I remember one mom saying, well, he took this major, so he didn't have to take any math. It's like, okay. So they tried to do the easiest things they could, I think. I don't know.
So you're the mother of 2 humans, and they're totally different.
Yeah.
Explain
so Luke
that.
wanted to do hockey, but he kind of came back into it too late. And in Florida, I'm like, in order for you to get good enough, you're going to have a private trainer daily for two years to even catch up because, and I think it's just impossible in Florida. There's not enough rinks, and you just can't practice enough.
So we have a thought management system, the S.C.O.R.E system: self-discipline, concentration, optimism, relaxation, enjoyment. Which one of those did you work on for Jake the most growing up, from the very beginning to right now? Helping him with his own self-discipline, helping him with his own concentration, helping him with his self-esteem, confidence, or relaxing, or enjoying the journey of the life? Where did you, and while you're pondering that question, did you have the same with the Luke? One kid needs this, one kid needs that.
Yeah. I guess I never actually thought of it that way because I didn't, know about your system, or call it that, I guess.
Well, it's self-discipline.
Yeah. So you had to have a lot of self-discipline, doing what you were doing. Even in high school, I mean, I think when they were younger.
He had that, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, there's still a little bit of pushing. I mean, they're 12 years old. So,
sure.
They're not right now, they're completely disciplined in what they do. So maybe I helped him with that, helped push him. I remember one time, I think he was a freshman. He decided he was going to quit baseball and become a professional surfer. I'm like, in Florida? It was one of his
professional surfer.
It was one of his hitting trainers who was I don't think he ever made it to the major leagues, but he played in California, so he surfed a lot out there. I'm like,
didn't he when he went to get his arm? Didn't he go out and surf? I remember he went to L.A. for something.
But Jake didn't surf out there.
Jake?
Oh no, they did with his agent. Yes. There's that
They
picture.
did go surfing.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
That was right before they had the surgery. But so it was this coach of his that got him into it, And I said, Drew, come, because he was like, I'm going to go night surfing. I'm like, night surfing? I go, where's the wisdom in that? He's like, well, so-and-so's going. I said, I don't care who's going. I said, you don't know where the rocks are. You can't see. I said, no, that's a very bad idea. And then my husband's like, it's a series of bad ideas that then become something, that ends up not, anyway. So I finally said to the coach, I'm like, you have to talk to him because there's no way he's going to be a professional surfer here in Florida.
Now, you've had a lot of experiences with a lot of different coaches, from taekwondo to I don't know about surfing coaches. But,
no, they just more did it for fun.
But you've had a lot of experience with that. Finding the right coach is not easy. And right now, how many parents are listening right now that believe they have a superstar, a talented kid? We all think our kids are talented, and they're looking to help maximize that talent. So that's not easy, is it?
No. So I was at a game yesterday with my cousin. My cousin's son is 13, so they're playing these 13U games. And actually, they played a White Sox, I don't know if you call it a scout team or whatever, something that the White Sox have organized from down there. But I said, just playing the games isn't enough. I said, most of these kids train like a lot from when they're young for many, 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 many years.
Do you think they train too much?
Maybe.
Some.
So there's a difference between training and like just going out and pitching but maybe. I think you have to do it the right way. And I don't have enough experience to know every trainer that exists, but I think a lot of them are like going and do your lesson for an hour and then you're done. But I think it's a lot more than just that. I don't think that's enough because you do a hitting lesson, that's great. So when Jake was young, he and his friend, they would just train, but he made it fun. So he taught him, just to make it fun. They would pretend they would catch, and he'd teach them how to go back for a ball and slide and get up, and they just had fun. He would get slip and slides out to have them base run.
Let's
learn this. Let's have fun at it.
We see a lot of kids that come to us, a coaching company, 13, 14, 15, and you talk to the kids away from the parents, and they're not having fun.
Right.
So
then they burn out.
They burn out, and as soon as you get your driver's license or get a girlfriend, okay, I'm done. I'm done with whatever.
Well, because they were probably never. I don't know. So they played yesterday, and most of those kids just. Nobody's teaching them really the actual. I saw a couple kids that could track the ball down in the outfield, but the other kids seemed a little lost. But nobody's training them. So you have a team and you have your coaches, and I'm not going to, I'm sure they're doing what they can do because a team is only one slice of the pie. You've got to fill the rest of it in. And one of the comments, I guess, because my cousin asked his son, what was the feedback? Well, we have to have better defense. I'm like, okay. What kind of comment is that? What does that even mean? They don't know what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
So I told him if you are serious about it and you want to play just first collegiate ball, you have to do a lot more than just this. Because it doesn't appear that they're...
You're very wise. You've gained a lot of wisdom. Wisdom's a combination of common sense and experience. You've got a lot of experience raising... I
ended up meeting someone that kind of explained this whole thing to me when he was 10 years old. He's like, just don't run them all over creation, because there's teams now when they're younger flying kids into pitch at 13. I'm like, what for? Why? What's the point of that? We will fly you to California to pitch? No.
Would that be your advice to any parents listening right now? I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, but I don't see the point in that. I think you are an expert.
You can win a 13-year-old trophy.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, as you know, these coaches want to win, so
my mother was a non-athlete. I'd come in and she'd just say, "How'd you do?" And I said, "I won." She goes, "Oh, that's so nice." And that was about it. I'm at the state tournament. My parents don't even go. I had to hitchhike.
And there's more and more of that because I heard my cousin talking about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, they did used to do that." When Jake was playing travel ball, they're like, "Oh, we got all these people were flying in." I'm like, I can see, like, by the time he was his first even actual, like, I don't know, what do you want to call them, scout teams or whatever teams, he didn't do any of that until his junior year.
It's expensive, too. High school. It gets expensive.
Well, yeah, it does.
The higher you
We
go.
always paid, but when you get up to, like, having the
travel expense.
Not the travel teams. I don't know what you want to call them. Scout teams where, like your junior summer, you end up getting on a team and then it's sponsored and you don't have to pay for it. That was the only time ever we didn't have to pay for anything.
So Jake has an amazing debut in professional baseball.
Oh, well, the Marlins, yeah.
Wins his first outing. I think he struck out 12 or 13 guys and makes the All-Star team. You must have been
That was cool. It was very
beaming. Were you at that game?
cool. Oh, yeah, the All-Star game. Sorry, I thought you meant the first one.
No, the
yeah,
All-Star
no,
game.
yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this is with the draft, you know, I mean, you got your first round, your second round, and this is just my feeling because it was just the vibe I got. But if you're like one of those top guys, you get treated slightly differently. Like,
No, I think that's an understatement. You totally
A
get
lot
treated
differently.
different.
How's
I
that?
mean, if you're a
So-
first rounder, even if you're not playing well, you get treated
Right.
differently. Yeah.
Right. So I just remember, like, because this was during COVID and they had to do their physicals, and it's like a couple days before that's like over to sign. I'm like, are they gonna do this? I said, what's going on? Finally, we go down to Miami to like the hospital down there to do whatever, and he went in and he said when he got back, he goes, well, they're gonna MRI my right shoulder. He goes, no, left shoulder. And then it was another limb. He goes, no, the opposite limb. I'm like, okay.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, you bunch of like blind leading the blind down there. But anyway, I just remember going then when he signed, and I just kind of felt like it was, I don't know, like an afterthought. It was, yeah, we went to Jupiter, but that's because we lived close by. And some of the other guys got to go down to the stadium and meet the team, and you know, a couple of the other guys were sort of like, okay, we like you, but you're you go over here.
Your experience now in
And it might not be their
two
intention,
minor
but-
league organizations. Any thoughts on minor league baseball? What's your thoughts on minor league baseball?
I mean, I'm obviously not there.
But what you know, what you've experienced,
Maybe those aren't things you
Organized-
want to comment on right now.
organized. Oh yeah, I totally understand, but it could be better, couldn't it?
It could be. I think there's a lot of ways, you know, if they're concerned about saving money, they could do a lot differently, and it could be better run and they could save money. This is an interesting thing. I was talking to a friend of mine whose son, he's a pitcher for the Guardians, and we were just talking about the rash of, you know, pitcher injuries and stuff. And I said this years ago. I said, I'm obviously not in the baseball like executive world. I said, but wouldn't it make sense if you had a 6-man rotation? And I know that costs more, but not really, because look at all the guys on huge contracts that are injured that you have to sideline anyway. So potentially that could help less people be injured. I'm not saying it's going to completely be foolproof.
It's the most difficult game because, you know, 162 games, throw in 20 some or 30 games in spring training, throw in postseason. That's abnormal.
It's a lot. Well, so he texted me this morning. Goes, because we were just talking about this 2 weeks ago. He said Cleveland just announced they're going to have a 6-man rotation. I'm like, wow, cool. Maybe more and more teams will go to that. I'm not sure that's the.
You think you influenced that? Maybe you did send out the vibe?
No, he's a dad. He doesn't have any influence either. But I said, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't think it would cost more money. I really don't.
And then he gets injured.
Oh, Jake, yeah.
Was that devastating to you? How did you feel as a mom? Surprised? Shocked?
No, not really. Not shocked. I think.
He went through it exemplary, though.
Yeah, no.
Not
I
a
don't
complaint.
think I was. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have any injuries like that.
He recovered quickly.
He recovered really well. I think the bigger stressor was
The
you know,
foot?
yeah. I'm like, okay, we've gone through our year and a half out, and we're ready, and then I'm like,
You know, I had
I'm like, come on.
Amanda, I had an intuitive vibe about that. When you went to London, in fact, I had a surgery. I called Jake when I got out of surgery while you were in London. The
Right.
first call I had was with Jake. I'm not sure what I said. I was coming out of anesthesia, my first person I talked to. But I told him, I said, if you're going to run, make sure you're protect yourself. I'd had a friend who stepped in a hole running.
Oh, it can be anything. You could even have the best shoes and twist your ankle, and then that, you know, all that stuff takes a lot longer.
But
than people
here
think.
it is. He was all ready for the spring, and next thing you know, he's got a broken foot, and he has to go through that again. He did go through that really well. But you've been through the ups and downs, and being a mom on the sidelines, that's stressful, isn't it?
To me, it is, because, you know, it's. I probably should let go more, but it's something, you know, I've been doing this with him since he was 10.
You're looking to finish his dream with him, to help him finish his dream.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize
everything that goes into it.
Everything that goes into it, but all athletes say hi, mom. How many of them say
Maybe we'll see.
Hi, mom? Well, there's not many that say hi, dad. There really isn't. I mean, it's a hi, mom's kind of a thing because mom's taking care of details. Mom's fastidious and all the little things that a lot of people don't think about.
Well, when he was doing that, I was working and doing both, so we were, moving all the time.
I can't wait to be in the south side of Chicago. Jake's debut. It's going to happen.
He can't wait.
We're going to be in the stands.
And my cousin can't wait too. They're so excited.
I'm totally looking forward to it. The White Sox need somebody that can shut out the other team right now for sure. So in terms of Jake and I spent a lot of time with him. What are your thoughts on that? Having a mental coach.
I think it's fantastic.
Did you ever think that he would have a mental coach or needed to have a mental coach?
I mean, they talk about what's missing and
what changes did you see? I started coaching Jake in 2020,
right?
And I remember
right before they. Yeah, it was. It was like September of 2020.
September 2020. I remember the first conversation like it was yesterday. You're more than a baseball player. I know we designed a life blueprint for Jake. Did you see change?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about some of those changes. What changes?
I think it was good for him because it took him a while. Like I think he searched you out. Well, he ended up being up at Cressy Sports, and I think it was your. I don't remember, one of the trainers. I think it was your brother, Ryan. Yeah, it was telling him about you, and so then I guess he looked you up and he looked at your book, and that's how he found your number in the back of one of the books. He ordered the book or he got the book somehow, and he found your number in the back of the book.
Yeah, I remember getting a call out of the blue.
Yeah. And he emailed, so I knew nothing. Like I said before, I knew nothing about it until he's like, okay, talk to him. I'm like, wait, what?
Well,
which is cool. I'm glad he did that.
I have to tell you. For 50 years, I've had a thought management system that really helps you think less and produce more, but it's based on creating a life blueprint, and then you learn the thought management system, apply it, and then the blueprints manifest. Tell me the differences in Jake since I started working with him, and you see behind the scenes. You see late night and watching TV. You all watch a lot of movies, and tell me the difference that you saw in him.
I think it stems back to kind of what I mentioned before about his pitching coach Brownie saying you're missing that kind of mental side, and I don't know if he elaborated on what he meant, but. Jake was always a overthinker, and I remember a long time ago someone saying, it's kind of better if some of the guys aren't necessarily so smart because they don't think about anything.
The low IQ guys are better athletes, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's not a knock. It's just it's for that particular situation.
I think most of us overthink everything.
Right,
that's why we worry.
I think he wanted to be perfect, so he was always searching for something that would make him perfect. And he was doing that at Vanderbilt, so he spent a lot of time, with the coach, and the coach, he was a coach, and he loved it, so he worked with these kids.
I don't know if you're aware, but a few of the assignments was Jake. One of them was go back and play the guitar.
With you.
Practice writing your name better.
Yes, do other things.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're even an athlete at school, everything revolves around the baseball. Nothing else.
I was even helping him learn a new word and incorporate it for his vocabulary. Yeah. So all kinds of different things. So the approach was not just baseball. Well, it was be the best you can be in everything you can be.
So you come from college where I hate to say school is an afterthought, but it's sort of it's not, but it is. You have to do well enough so you can maintain your grades and your eligibility. But they spent more time playing baseball than they did in class or studying for sure. So everything was about baseball. You couldn't join a fraternity. There was no time. It wasn't even allowed because this was all you did.
Did he relax more after we started working?
Oh, with you, yeah. I think he was not relaxed. I remember going to the World Series when he pitched those last 3 innings. I said, how was that? He goes, I was so nervous. He goes, I couldn't even see the plate part of the time. I'm like, seriously? He's like, no, I just like, I couldn't even see. He was like, so not relaxed, obviously executed and did fine. Then when he would train at Cressy, he was training, I forget what the guy's name was, the major league pitcher, a guy from Vandy that was training there. And one of the coaches up there, he said to the both of them, he goes, you guys are classic overthinkers, which is, probably not what you want when you're trying to be in a zone state. So I think he's away from all that stuff. A lot better than he is. A lot more.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
100%
and I think
better. He's reduced his thoughts as much, if not more, than anybody I've coached in 50 years. He's reduced it from 2,000 or 3,000 thoughts: future, past, worry, anxiety, all of those things. He's got it down to 30, 40% less. And right now he's only thinking about what serves him well.
Right, and I remember him saying, and I know the coaches are they weren't trying to help you and they're giving you advice, but he's like, they're in your ear and they're telling you this, telling that, and he's like, you can't think about all that. You have to dismiss all that, because if you just start trying to incorporate, do this, do that, and he was even talking about some of his friends that weren't hitting well. So he says, as soon as they're not hitting well, next thing you know, they're do this, move your hand here, do. He's like, you can't.
If you get to the big leagues and don't hit well, then the checkout person at the store is going to give you advice. You're going to get advice from everybody and their mom.
I remember him telling me, because it was one of his friends and he wasn't doing so well, and he goes, he gets up in the bat, everybody's telling him, move your hand here, do this. He's like, you don't even have 2 seconds. You can't be thinking about where your hand is and what you're going to do, and then just spirals downward and you do worse.
I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing.
The more you think, he said, it just...
That's the biggest thing Jake's done with me. He's reduced his thoughts and stay out of the past. Next. That is our battle cry with all of our Zoniacs.
Because if you think about it, I mean, a lot of these minor league players are there for a reason. They're all good.
They're all good.
So why?
They all have the basics.
They all have the basics, and some are maybe more skilled than others. But why is one that's less skilled in the major leagues and others aren't? There's a reason. It's not just about you're. I throw 100 and you don't, or whatever it is.
Where there's guys that can throw 100 and still can't make it.
Right.
There's superstar physical athletes that don't make it. Yeah, I think the mental side is. It's hard for me to say that it's the new frontier after I've been doing this a half a century, but I see more people getting into the mental side of the game than ever before.
Well, and I think you almost have to just do you, because, there are guys that, speaking of pitchers, that can throw 100, and there's guys just they can't. They just don't. So you don't have to be that person.
So how's your score level? So let me ask you that. Let's go back to just you. Self-discipline, commitment, goals.
I mean, right now, I would
concentration, optimism about what's next for you, relaxation. If you could pick one of those things to help you be the best you could be, would it be self-discipline, concentration, optimism, relaxation,
I think
free
I would
from
probably
worry?
Start with relaxation. I mean, I can be very self-disciplined if I put my mind to it. Relaxing.
That's tough. It's tough today.
And they all kind of go together. Like, I remember when the kids were, they used to be like addicted to their phones, but they would sit and say, well, every time you get it, he probably learned it from me. Every time you get a text, now you're concentrating on one thing. Now you're squirrel. You're onto something different.
So Jake's schooling mom now. Oh my goodness.
I'm not on my phone that as much. So, but kids they do is spend time.
Yeah,
on
that's
their
one
phone.
thing he's done. He stays off social media and stays off his phone.
You almost have to, because
you do.
If you start reading everything people say, they're like. First of all, they're people that have no idea what these guys are going through, so they're making comments based on almost zero knowledge.
If there's anything you could say to any parents, if you could talk directly to a parent who maybe has a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old in any sport, based on your experience, any advice you could give them?
I mean, I think at 9, it's probably hard for the actual 9-year-old to really know what they want to do. They might say, I want to be a professional player, and maybe maybe that will come to fruition. But I think nowadays the parents driving it a lot. But if you had a kid that really wanted to stay doing it, I would take a different path. Don't just go and play all the travel ball and then think that's going to be good enough, because it's not. I mean, you have to find the right person. It's really hard to find someone that will be invested in your kid for year after year after year and really do what it needs to be done. A lot of the kids, probably their parents trained them. You know, they might have, like my friend's father, right? One of the kids, no, not my friend, one of Jake's teammates with the Marlins. His dad trained him because he played. So he put all his energy into him. So, you know, we're not a baseball family. My husband doesn't know anything about baseball, and I don't know how to train someone. So you have to finding someone that will invest.
So tell everyone what's on Jake's wall above his bed.
Oh, I am accurate.
I am accurate. He's got a big wooden plank. I know that was our mantra. I am accurate. And then we talked about it every single day. And then he sent me a picture. We had both of your sons here in Chicago. We took them all around.
Yeah.
Got them some Chicago-style pizza.
I know.
Went to the Shed Aquarium, went down to the ballpark on the south side, and we're looking forward to having them all back. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show. And moms, help your kids be world-class decision makers. Amanda Eder has done that. And help your kids think less, not more. And the last bit of advice is enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
It's
you
short.
You have to, because it sure is a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for watching or listening to Living in the Zone podcast. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be up to date on all of our information and content. Go to ZoneCoach.com, where you're going to learn more on how we can help you live your life, business, or sport in the zone.